Hi everyone, this is Deborah, and today I'm going to show you how to use up your scraps to make tags or bases for your junk journals. So here's a set that I made just a few minutes ago, and you can see it's all varied, quite different, and they'll make great bases for junk journals. And this is how I did it. First of all, I got all my scraps. It doesn't matter what size they are. Get them out of wherever it is that you're keeping them, and then take a piece of paper. Now I am using a piece of white 12 by 12 cardstock simply because I happen to have quite a lot of it, and it's a piece that I've used when I was working something out or in a class or something to give some instruction. So I thought I would use that today. Now I'm going to start by placing my pieces down on this paper, and I'm just using a Yoo-hoo stick or glue stick and just basically putting a tiny little bit on there and then sticking it down. Now the reason I'm only putting a little bit on there is really only to hold it in place until I get to the sewing machine. Now obviously if you are not going to sew yours, then you'll need to put a little bit more down or some other sort of adhesive in order to hold your papers down. I'm just putting whatever I've got, and I've overlapped that a little bit because that had a little cutout. So for a piece like this, I'm going to clip it just to take away the hole that's in it. So that was the hole where the paper pad hung, and I'm going to put it in a different direction. And so I guess it's a bit like Tetris. If you like playing Tetris, this is probably a good thing for you. I'm not worrying about whether they're up the right way or upside down. I am looking at colour though. So where I've got something that's dark, I'm trying to set it next to something light as best I can. Just going to overlap that again because of that cutout that's there. Now this one isn't straight, but I'm going to cover that, so that'll be fine when I get to that section. Just put a bit of glue down. I need some stuff that's light. And put that across there, and then cut that again. And I need something in a different shade for sure. Here's a piece of, oh here you go, there's a piece of denim. Doesn't fit really well there, so I'm going to stick it there. Here's some more of that pinky purple. What else have we got? Here is some plain cardstock that I've had a piece cut off, so I've obviously used that for something. So just build up just like I'm doing. Try and put, if you've got a thin piece like this, you might want to put it in that spot rather than using a larger piece. The other reason I use a glue stick is that the sewing machine doesn't actually seem to mind the glue stick terribly much. So that's a good thing. Put this piece up here, and really it's quite quick to assemble one of these. You don't have to be super great at anything. You just need to be able to get a glue stick and stick down some paper onto the cardstock or whatever surface you're using. Another good surface for these is something like a file folder. That would be good for something like this. I'm going to cut this, and I'll put this one in here because a file folder is quite big, so in order to get it through the machine you may need to trim it down a little bit. Just looking for other pieces. That piece will fit in there, so I'm going to trim that off. So just remember that it will be determined by how much how big your machine is and whether or not you can fit it in. I've got a little space there. I just want to plug that up. I don't want to have that hole showing there. This piece is completely different again, so we'll put it up here. We'll trim it off. And as I said, you don't have to have a sewing machine to do this. You can just do it with a normal piece of paper. I just use the sewing machine because it is quick and I don't want to muck around too much waiting for something to be done and dry. But personal preference, or whatever you happen to have really, is what you need. This piece will go here. Doesn't matter if they lap over the edge of the paper, because once I've sewn it all, I'll cut all that off, so it won't be a problem really. Or if they overlap each other, because it will just give it a more of a collaged look if they overlap each other. And maybe that's a bit big, that piece. That's not big enough. I'm trying to get something that will go over all of the, that will go over. So I want to possibly cut that. No, I'm going to keep that because it's got a man with the hat on it. Let me find something else that will fit. I'll put this piece in here. It's not quite covering the end of that, so I will stick another small piece across there. Now I'll take it to the sewing machine and sew it. Now I usually sew this all in one go, but I have stopped so you can see the first part that I've done. I start by sewing all the way around the four edges because I find that that secures everything else pretty well. And then I'm just going to start here and come all the way down here, and then I'll go across and I'll zigzag my way up, making sure I catch the edges of all of these bits that I've stuck on there. I apologise for the lighting. It's another very dark, rainy day in Brisbane. We've had so much rain lately, so I've had to turn my lights on, otherwise, well, I couldn't see, but then neither you wouldn't be able to either. So back to the machine and I'll finish that up. Here's my piece. I've sewn it all. If I've missed anything, I can do it once I've cut it apart, but I'm pretty sure I've got most of the edges where the joins are sewn up. So now I'm going to go and chop it up. Just before I do that, the other thing is you'll see that there's lots of threads, like this is connected, because as I'm coming through I don't stop and cut every thread. I just move the needle to where I need it to be, and I make sure that it's not going to catch up at the back, that it's got lots of playroom. So that's how I do it, and once I cut it apart, a lot of those threads will disappear and I'll trim off the excess then. And here they are chopped apart. So I've left some big in case I want to create a tuck spot, a side pocket in a journal. So I've left some big and I've made others small. The criteria I'm looking for when I'm chopping them up is really to chop at a place where I've got multiple different papers. So I wouldn't chop right on the edge of a paper, which is why I've left about maybe 3/4 of an inch on the side. I just do it randomly. I don't really try and think too much about it, but I try and not to just cut it out like it's different pieces of paper. I do actually want to make something that looks a bit different and that's got some, you know, collage work or whatever you want to call in them. So that is it for today. I hope you'll have a go at that. It's a great way to use up your scraps. And I've got a bunch here, so I think I'm going to go and make another one. This is Deborah. Thanks for watching. Cheers.